There's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Man, this stuff rocks.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey, this is Mark Tremonti from Creed, Alter Bridge, and Tremonti, and you're watching BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather. And as always, I bring you guys and gals awesome interviews. It's just about that time for the old man that's in that sleigh to come down the chimneys. And on the podcast with me today, we got Mr. Mark Tremonti of Alter Bridge and Creed. And he has released his new Christmas album, debut Christmas album, entitled Christmas Classics New and Ode via Janus Music Management. We're going to be talking to Mark about all this good stuff. So, Mark, welcome to the podcast. And how you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
Doing great, man. So how excited are you to have this debut Christmas album entitled Christmas Classics New and Ode out now, man? How does it feel finally?
Awesome, man. 'Cause I recorded this back in April. So I've been sitting on this thing for quite some time. And even though we announced it in July, nobody gave a crap about a Christmas record until after Thanksgiving. So you're like, come on, you got to listen to this record. Nobody wants to. Even my brother is like, I'll listen to it one time before Thanksgiving, because Christmas music creeps people out when it's not the season. So we're finally in the pocket.
It's crazy how Christmas is just like, some people it's way before Thanksgiving, and there's some people that's traditional and I just want to wait till after Thanksgiving.
You know what? Until I did this record, I didn't realize how polarizing Christmas was in general. You see people like, I hate Christmas. Like, what do you mean you hate Christmas? What do you hate about Christmas? But yeah, you see that the Christmas really pulls a lot of things out of a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. So I just wanted to create a record that reminded me of my childhood and Christmas when I was a kid. So, hey, I enjoyed it.
Have you been planning on doing a Christmas album for a while, or did it just come about?
When I got into singing like Frank Sinatra and practicing the big band jazz vocal, the reason I got into that was because I would sing Christmas songs at karaoke parties or whatnot during Christmas. And I was like, this stuff just fits my, Bing Crosby's voice at first felt good. Eventually after I put out the Sinatra record, people were like, it sounds like you should do a Christmas album. And I said, damn straight I should do a Christmas record. I'd love to do that.
And you know what, man? Your voice fits it. And I'm not saying that just because you're on here, but your voice is like, it's mesmerizing. I mean, it's like hypnotizing, honestly, because you said there and it's like, man, this is like old freaking traditional music from Christmas from you.
That's the stuff I loved growing up. And that's why I love it so much. And I wanted the production. I wanted everything, the instrumentation, everything to sound like it came out of the 50s. Maybe it was just with, more modern recording technology, but nothing slick, nothing overdone, just a natural sound like they used to have.
Can I dare say it sounds like old Bing Crosby? I mean, the way that
that's absolutely perfect. I think the big difference between that is some of these old Christmas recordings, especially a lot of old Frank Sinatra, not even Christmas songs, you can actually hear the record spinning on the versions that you hear on some of these popular Sinatra songs. And I love that. But, I guess you could always put that in the record in post if you really wanted to, ruin the quality a little bit just to make you feel like it's something out of the 40s and 50s.
What made you put this album out in the traditional sounds instead of going the rock and metal route? Because there's a lot of guys that go that rock and metal route with the Christmas music nowadays.
Because I get to do that plenty. I get to do the rock thing. I've been able to do that for 25, 30 years now. This, being over 40 years old and finding something new that excites you about music is something rare, I think, because I always enjoyed Frank Sinatra and big band music. Mm-hmm. It made me feel good, but I never obsessed about it like I did a lot of my metal stuff and rock stuff. But now that I've gotten into it, man, I have got a whole nother appreciation for it, and I absolutely love it. I love it just as much as the music I grew up on. And I'm sorry, as far as metal. And now I'm obsessed with it, and it's fun to feel like a kid again, excitement-wise for music. So, as much as I can do this stuff, I want to do it.
Are we going to get another one next year? Possibly. I mean, I know that's way down the road, but are they anything in the can maybe for next year for this?
I don't know about next year, but definitely something at some point. I want to do. I want to do volume 2s of both the Sinatra, Tremonti Sing Sinatra, and the Christmas albums, because there's so many songs that we had left off. Even at the show I'm doing on the 16th here in Orlando, we're going to play 3 Christmas songs that weren't on the record. Two Sinatra songs that we didn't record. I think 3 Sinatra songs that we didn't record on the record. So I kind of want to keep on delivering songs that we didn't get to do. So next time I do it, I can test them out live. I know which ones are going to be good in the studio.
So you reunited with members of the orchestra. Did it just make sense to work with them, or was there anything else planned prior to working with them on this album?
No, it just made sense because I had, my few of my cue characters that were just critical to the Sinatra thing that just, wanted to be a part of this as well. And it's mainly the main cast of folks from the first record as far as the brass players go. But then we added 23 stringed instruments, and we added a few percussionists, because there's timpanis and there's these crazy drums I'd never seen before, like a concert bass, which is like imagine a kick drum that's like 5-6 feet tall. It was amazing. And then we did the choir. I've never sang with a choir before. I mean, I sang with a choir when I was in 4th grade, singing The Saints Go Marching In or something, but not, when I was singing this record, I remember the first song I sang with them was The First Noel. And when you hear that choir come in, they were, man, talk about chills. That was, all of us in the rock and metal world, we want to write epic, big journey songs that go on a journey and take you through all kinds of dynamics and moods. But I think there's nothing more epic. I was thinking this when we were mixing this record, when you hear the Old Holy Nights and the First Noels, when you bring those chord progressions and those choirs and those melodies in, it's, like the First Noel is almost like as moody as a moody, doomy metal song. It's the same kind of like vibe, but not, it's epic is what I'm saying.
So did this itch your theatrical side, so to speak, with playing this live with the orchestras and everything? I mean, did this kind of scratch that itch that you had maybe?
It just scratched that itch of trying to go back and relive those feelings I felt when I was a kid when I heard these songs. When I'm singing live, I'm definitely not very theatrical. I'm not like the first. I'm more of on stage. I'm not trying to be Frank Sinatra on stage. I'll tell you that much. I'm just being myself. I just try to stay pretty low key. I'm not David Lee Roth or or Frank Sinatra on stage. I'm just pretty low key.
So did this album turn out exactly the way you wanted it to, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, if I could go back and change anything, now that I'm more used to singing and practicing these songs, I think I could perform them better now, but I don't want, that's a moment in time that we captured. So I'm glad we did. That goes with any record you ever do. When you play these songs on the road for 20 years, you get better at them. You wish you could go back in the studio and fix something, but that's not the point. These songs are what they are. And some of the imperfections are what makes people like them sometimes.
Was it difficult to pick and choose the songs you wanted to put on this album or no?
Yeah. I mean, I had way, way more songs I wanted to do, but when we, the business side of things, no fun to talk about, but when the budgets came in for this record, they were astronomical. We had 52 musicians recording on this. So every single song you added to that set list was like, okay, here's you're either going to put your kids in school or do this one less song. or, so it was a big it was a big production, so we can only do 10 songs. And even then we had to take certain songs like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas and the Christmas song and really bring it down to like a 4 or 5 piece, you know, so we could let the, you know, the choir wouldn't be there and the strings wouldn't, you know, we didn't need the big band for that. So we saved, but I thought that made the record better. I think the dynamics we have between a song like Oh Holy Night that's got everything in the world going on down to the Christmas song that has just bass, alto sax, piano, and a guitar, that's it, and a vocal. I think that dynamic works.
But was it difficult to like take those songs like that and like say cut here, cut there, and minimize it and everything like that? Was it a little bit difficult or no?
No, I mean, I think once we got it going, it's like, this is the way the song should be. You know, a song like the Christmas song, when you hear Chestnuts Roasting, you didn't hear Nat King Cole doing it, you know, huge. That was a very, like, even when you watch the video, it's just him sitting there singing to you. It's very personal. It's very exposed. And that's one of the things with doing this project in general. You can't be nervous about being exposed, because this is the most out front you'll ever be as a vocalist. There's nobody, you know, I say usually there's nobody harmonizing with you. There's nobody doubling you. Until we do the songs with the choir, that's the case. But it's a very exposed kind of thing. But it was very hard to pick the songs that we were going to do, because I wanted to do so many more. You know, I wanted to do Hark the Herald Angels. I wanted to do You Hear What I Hear? I wanted to do so many. But like I said, you know, we didn't even do Silent Night. You know, we didn't do Have Yourself. We didn't do White Christmas.
The big traditional ones. Yeah, for sure. How's the fans' feedback been on the release of these singles and the album so far? What are you seeing back, man, that's give you some inspiration, maybe fueled your fire a little bit on this, maybe?
Oh, it's been great, man. Everybody is talking, you know, when all the comments I see, a lot of my brother will tell me what he reads. And he's like, you know, people are putting up their Christmas trees, listening to the record, and they say it reminds them of their childhoods. And, you know, people are saying this is going to be my new go-to Christmas album. And, makes me feel good, because I want that to be something that if they have kids, their kids are hearing it. And when they grow up, they remember that record from when they were kids and they play it for their kids, kind of a thing. You know, make it a legacy piece that lives on way after I'm gone.
Dude, I'm going to say this right now. And like I said earlier, I'm not saying this because you're on here, but when I was listening to the Christmas song, when Kevin sent this to me to preview, I heard that and I heard you sing, and I was like, my God, Mark is fucking phenomenal. I mean, he has really nailed it on this, dude. I mean, you took your game from what you've done in Alter Bridge and Song on Creed some. I mean, I'm very impressed on what you've done with this.
Thank you so much. It was definitely, like I said, it was a challenge for sure, but I enjoyed every second of it, you know. Sitting down with Nat King Cole and trying to do it some kind of justice, you know. Tough, because he's the king, you know, he's one of the kings of Christmas and one of the classiest voices of all time, you know. So something like that, all you can do is chase it down, listen to his phrasing, listen to the personality he puts into it, listen to how he pronounces, and do your best to not mess it up, you know. So yeah, it was fun.
Was the albums Tremonti Sings Sinatra and this new Christmas album, New and Old, were they a challenge for you musically?
Yeah, these albums were a huge challenge, but they were a challenge, but I loved every second of doing my best to make them turn out the way they did. It was with the Sinatra record. It happened when COVID was going on. We had all the time in the world to chase down whatever we wanted at the time. So my son was playing soccer, and I would drive 45 minutes to his field, and the entire time I'd be practicing. I would take one song a day, and I'd say it was Luck Be a Lady, and I would play it over and over and over and over and memorize every little bit of it. And by the time I got to the soccer field, he'd have 3 hours of practice because he was on 2 soccer teams. I'd bring my laptop out and I'd type out the lyrics the way he phonetically spoke, you know, because he would say things that you know, instead of appealed, he'd say appealed. So I would say APEEYULD, and I'd spell it like he did, and I'd move it the way he phrased it. And I got to spend hours and hours and hours and hours, years developing how I was going to phrase these songs. And it really helped me as a singer in general. But with the rock thing, I don't get to use it as much as I wish because I'm singing outside of my range. You know, I'm screaming almost. But hopefully I can write some songs where I can sing lower and take advantage of the lower range now.
What's that chemistry though that just makes it working with the orchestra on these albums, man?
These guys are the guys. There's never a moment where you're like, that sounds weird. That doesn't sound good. Every second of every take, you're like, holy crap. That sounds like I'm at a Tommy Dorsey concert. You know, it's incredible. These guys are top notch. And they're so chill about it. You know, you're in a room and you're hearing this. I remember I had my buddy Tom Costanza come up and film when we did the Tremonti Sing Sinatra record. And on the second day, we started with Fly Me to the Moon. When you hear the guys that toured with Frank Sinatra playing one of his biggest hits, Fly Me to the Moon, my buddy comes over to me as I'm singing, and he's got his video camera and he points to his arms. He's got chill bumps all down his arms. I was like, I hear you, man. This is insane. I mean, it sounds so good in this room. And after we left, I only had two buddies with me in the studio, and I was like, I'm so glad you guys were here because I couldn't explain how amazing this was to be in the room with these guys. You know, it's something that's why I like people to come to the shows, because when you see it live, it's a completely different thing than hearing it on the record. These guys are incredible.
Oh, that's for sure. I've always said that, man. Live versus album, I'll take live all day long.
Oh, yeah. And all the solo guys do, they're all improvised. So live, you're going to get a different solo every time.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Any track standing out more to you than any right now on this album? I know these are some of your favorites. Mark, brother, any that's standing out more for you?
On the Christmas record, The First Noel is one of my favorites on the record. That's one of my favorite Christmas songs ever. It's just got that mood to it. It's just an epic Christmas song. I think This Christmas is one of my favorite songs of all time. I mean, that song, Christmas or Not, I just absolutely love it. Donny Hathaway was incredible. And that was when I think I was most nervous about the Christmas song, This Christmas, and Oh Holy Night, because I was trying to chase down these incredible singers, and it's one thing doing Jingle Bells because I was already used to doing Sinatra's version, Sinatra's take on how he approaches his vocals, and Jingle Bells was one that he did a great version of. As far as like Let It Snow, same thing. I kind of took a Dean Martin marries Frank Sinatra's vocal styles and kind of combined them, so I was still in my comfort zone. All the upbeat things, if you listen to Santa Claus Is Coming to Town, I tried to put on a character's voice like I was in one of those claymation things. You better watch out. I wasn't really singing, you better watch out. I was putting on a character. And the funny thing is after I sang that song, I think I sang Let It Snow next. And my producer was like, I don't know if that same characteristic voice that you're doing is going to work on the whole rest of this record. Cause it worked for that song, but I was glad he was on the other side of the glass, cause I might've dreaded, having two songs with that take on it. I'm glad we did the one.
Was the track listing placement important for this album for you?
Absolutely. I wanted to, each, when you think of these records, I think of them as vinyl. So I know that each side is almost like its own record. So I wanted to make sure side A and side B had an epic. So you had First Noel is the epic of the first half. Oh Holy Night's the epic of the second half. You had the upbeat songs that started it. I had Most Wonderful Time of the Year to start the first half. I had Santa Claus Is Coming to Town to start the second half. And then each half of the record also had the broke down versions of the Christmas song and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I wanted to make sure that the original song was somewhere up front in the record so it didn't get lost. What's funny is the song that after the record was done that I might have listened to the least or shared the least was Let It Snow. And my manager had told me that was the most streamed song on the record. I'm like, isn't that weird? That's probably my the song I was least excited about. I like it, it's okay, it's great, but I don't like it half as much as First Noel or the Christmas song, or but that's what people went for. I don't know why.
It's kind of like the sleeper on the album.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's much better songs on there, but if that's what makes people happy, listen to it. Listen to it.
That's right. Spin that thing. Spin it. What's the growth musically you've seen from yourself working on the Sinatra album, and plus this Christmas one that impressed you the most, or maybe something that came out of you that you didn't know you had?
It's just the whole take on the vocal thing. It's I've just learned how to really dial in my placement and my vibrato and my pronunciation, and that's one thing I learned early on. People when Frank Sinatra sang, you could hear everything he said. There was never any kind of, like, when you listen to rock and roll, it's like, what did he say? What did she say? Sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't know, years later I thought they sang this. But with Sinatra's, the way he sang, everything was so clear and pronounced so well. So I think taking that into what I do going forward, not to make it stale or too proper for a rock thing, but just learning, like I said, learning how to do the proper vowel placement when I'm singing in the vibratos and the pitch. And one thing, and it gets technical on the singing side. I'm not a technical singer, but in my mind, I don't know, I've learned how to kind of direct my voice where I kind of focus on my placement, if it's my mask or the back or wherever it's at. I never used to do that. I used to just go in the studio in the rock thing and just sing and not think about it. Now I'm thinking about it like it's you can't think about something when you have no idea what the hell you're doing with it. But the more and more you experiment with it, you're like, oh, this works, that works. Now I have some tools. I finally have a little bit of a toolbox when it comes to singing, as far as the lower stuff goes. As far as when it gets high, all that's out the window.
What's your favorite part about Christmas, or your favorite Christmas memory, possibly?
My favorite memories are Christmas Eve at my grandmother's house, where me and my brothers and cousins would all go and get our first present of the year, and have Christmas dinner and listen to Christmas songs and play hide and seek in my grandma's creepy basement up in Detroit. The basement that always smelled kind of funny, but we loved it. It was awesome. It was always snowy up there. Family was huge and awesome. My grandfather was the best.
I got to know this though, man, since you've done this, Halford's done a album like this. Who else would you like to see in the metal community do an album, Christmas album, maybe? Who's on your bucket list? You like to say, yeah, I'd love to see you do one.
Geez, that's a tough one. There's a lot of people I'd like to see. When I did the Sinatra thing, I started this charity idea called Take a Chance for Charity, where you take an artist that make an artist do something that their fan base would be like, what? Are you kidding me? What are they doing? So I'd like to take, for example, like Miles Kennedy, and have him sing with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Ooh.
The actual guys in the band, or have Miles sing with Steely Dan, take our favorite artists and that you would never picture somebody working with, partner them up with a Motown band or a old jazz, thing, or Prince's band to do Purple Rain, whatever.
That's a good one. Yeah. Look, I know you and Adam Copland are friends, aka Edge, but how's it feel to have a wrestling icon to use your music for their entrance thing, to say, hey man, write me something, give me something so I can use? How cool is that right now for you?
Oh, it's awesome, man. I remember when we were way younger, and he, I think he came out to a show, or we were hanging out. I think I met him through Dale Torborg, who was the Demon, the wrestler. He's one of my closest friends. But when we met, he was like, yeah, man, I'd love to use your song Metalingus. Would you mind if I use it for my intro music? And I was like, of course not. I'd love for that. That's great, man. I'll be honored. So then he becomes this huge star. And Metalingus is now Alter Bridge's top stream song of our entire catalog. And he called me, must have been a month or so ago. And he was like, hey, man, this was before he signed a deal. He's like, this is top secret, but I'm signing a deal with AEW. And I'd I'd feel strange if I didn't come out to Metalingus. He's like, can I use it for AEW? I'm like, well, of course you can use it. He said, well, illegally, can we use it? Do we have a deal with WWE or anything else like that with your licensing? It's like, let me make sure. So I called my manager and asked him to go check. He's like, nope, it's free and clear. He can use it. So he freaked out. He's like, yes. And, he even said, we were supposed to play WrestleMania, I think, when COVID was about to happen. We were all set up to do WrestleMania. There was discussions about Alter Bridge playing Metalingus at this huge stadium somewhere. And then COVID shut it all down, which was terrible. And then Adam told me recently, he's like, we've already sold out, I think, Wembley Stadium next year for AEW's big event. He's like, you guys, it'd be awesome to come play Metalingus at, Wembley Stadium. But we'll be on tour with Creed at that time. So it's, it's one of those things, you can't do it all.
One day it'll happen. But man, I'll tell you what, right now, I'm a wrestling fan, huge wrestling fan. And I'm sitting here and I got chills on me just talking about it with you about this. Cause if that don't put chills on you and make you want to get up and come out to that song, there's something wrong with you.
Oh, and when I saw him come out to it for the first time and the place exploded, that's some power, man. It's one thing doing what we do as rock, as people in rock bands. It's a big rush, but imagine when you're getting out there doing something physical like that, and even being a boxer or a mixed martial artist. That's got to be next level energy.
Man, I'm telling you, when he came back to WWE and he got that pop, when I saw it next day, I'm sitting here got chills on me right now, dude. I mean, it's crazy. I was like, oh my God. I mean, that pop was just deafening. And for to be a sports entertainer and be a wrestler like that and get that pop, you've got to do something that makes you connect with people. I mean, it's a very hard industry to connect and pop with people like that, like he has.
And backstage, we did a performance where we went and did a WWE thing backstage where Edge was sitting down with us and we're jamming. And it was a skit where he got in a fight with one of the it was an announcer back then that was kind of a annoying guy that it was kind of a bad guy at the time. But anyways, when we did that part, I got to meet Big Show and Ric Flair and a bunch of guys, and these guys couldn't be any nicer. When you got Big Show who's on TV, like, I'm going to kill you and your family, you meet him in person, he's the nicest person you've ever met in your life. Ric Flair's a perfect gentleman. Adam's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He's a Canadian, proper gentleman. So it's funny to see him on stage because he's a completely different person.
All right, Mr. Mark Tremonti, how can folks stay in touch with you? Buy this Christmas album, all the Sinatra one, all your stuff, man. How can you do that, sir?
If you go to Tremonti Sings Sinatra, you'll have it all there, or take a chance for charity.com for the charitable side of stuff. But you can, go to Tremonti Sings Sinatra is probably the best, easiest way. But the record is, if you want to hear it now, it's streaming everywhere. And so hope everybody enjoys it.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up. You only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please check out our Facebook page as our YouTube link that I hope you definitely would go and subscribe to if you like what I'm doing. And please get out and pick up Mark Tremonti's new Christmas album, his debut Christmas album entitled Christmas Classics New and Ode via Janus Music Management. You won't be disappointed. Thank you, Mark, so much for doing this interview, and Merry Christmas, my man.
Awesome. Merry Christmas to you. Hope to see you at a show soon.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.